Hello, Chem152. My name is Jessica Stanfield, and I'll be your instructor this summer. I know City College still has my name listed as Jessica Woods, but I got married 4.5 years ago, and it's still an ongoing process getting my last name switched over at City College. I also teach at Grossmont College. There, they've actually switched my name properly. So my last name is Stanfield, not Woods. Eventually, City College should have it fixed, I hope. Anyway, I will be guiding you through our Chemistry 152 course this summer. It's a nice, compact, quickly run 8-week course. So this is the normal 16-week course, just compressed into 8 weeks. All right. So we are not cutting any topics out. There's nothing that's going to be removed from the course. So it's going to seem like there's a ton of work to do each week, because there is, since we are trying to do 16 weeks compressed into 8. So you need to be keeping up with this course. This is not a course that you can log in late on Sunday and be successful in. You need to be engaging in the course every single day in order to keep up with all of the material. We're covering 2 to 3 chapters every single week with associated quizzes, exams, and homework. There will also be discussion boards that you'll be doing each week. This week is just basic introductions. Next week, I have you doing just a quick little activity to practice measuring things. The week after that, I have you working on a problem session to help you prepare for the first exam. Most of the time, discussion boards will have an initial due date on Friday with a second due date on Sunday, but sometimes that'll be flipped a little bit. If we're working on a problem session, I might have the due dates moved up a little bit. That way the problem session gets worked through before the exam is due. So make sure you're keeping up with all of those due dates. Let me share my screen here. So for the time being, I have our landing page for our course set to the syllabus page. I will change this after the first few days, and the landing page will be the modules page, because I don't think you need to see the syllabus every single day. But for these first few days of class, I want to make sure that everybody is engaging with the syllabus and with the course stream. So I have our homepage set to the syllabus. So I'm going to view our syllabus here. I'll be posting in the announcement a different email address. I am teaching another class at Grossmont College this summer as well. And when I was prepping my syllabi, I started that class first, so my Grossmont email was in my head, and I realized this morning that I had left my Grossmont email on this syllabus. So I'm going to, in the announcement, put my City College email. If you email the Grossmont email, it's not the end of the world, but the best way for me to keep the two classes separated is for City College students to email me at my City College email, and Grossmont students to email me at my Grossmont email. All right, for summer, I only do office hours by appointment. So if you do make an appointment with me, here's the Zoom link. Okay. We are asynchronous, meaning you do not have to log into Zoom at specific times. But this also means that you have to be very self-motivated this summer. You have to be logging on. You have to be watching the lecture videos. Okay. If we were synchronous or we were on campus, we would be meeting in person for at least 6 hours each week. And then you would study outside of class. So you're going to have to do all of that on your own. So you should be engaging in the lecture videos for a minimum of 6 hours each week to get through all of them. And then all of the associated study time on top of that. So this is basically, it's an introduction to general chemistry. There are a few students that take this class as a terminal course, but the vast majority of students taking this class do need to go on to either Chem 200 or both Chem 200 and Chem 201, and possibly even beyond that. So this class is designed to prepare you for general chemistry. City College does not link the lectures and the labs, so you are required to separately register in both a lecture section and a lab section. So the co-requisite is Chem 152 lab. The only exception to this is if you have received an exemption from the campus. I know there's some students that pass the lab but end up having to retake the lecture during summer. So unless you've received an exemption from the campus, you absolutely must also be registered in a lab section. Okay, we will be using, here, I'll stop the share for a second. We'll be using this textbook right here, Introductory Chemistry. Cengage is the publisher. Okay, so that's our text. They finally started binding the whole book together. The first time I used that their text several editions ago in 2013, it was loose leaf, which was really weird because it never stayed well in a binder. So I'm glad that they finally bound it. I find that much easier to keep track of everything. Okay, and then we will be using their homework system. So I have all of the due dates put into the system right now. So everything is there for you to start off with this semester. Now, one note about this is there's a few introductory assignments that help get you used to the OWL system. So make sure that you go through those. And then once you get into the chapter assignments, there are a few different assignments each chapter. So most chapters will have an adaptive study plan, multimedia activities, this EOC, and mastery. Okay, the adaptive study plan, the multimedia activities, and the EOC, those are all optional. You do not have to do those. The one that you have to do is the mastery for each chapter. Okay, so in addition to the 5 intro to OWL assignments, you will have a mastery assignment for each chapter that you must do. Okay, the other 3 assignments are there to aid you along in your journey through Chem152. I recommend that you do them, but you do not have to do them. All right, so the only ones that are going to count toward your required grade are going to be those mastery assignments. So don't think that every single chapter you have 4 chunks of problems to do. You only have to do 1 problem set each chapter. Okay, let's go back to the syllabus. Okay, and so you'll need the text, you'll need the homework system. It may have come bundled with your textbook. But there's always an option to purchase it separately directly from OWL or from Cengage. You'll want a pencil, so when you're working on work, if you make mistakes, you can erase it. And then you'll need a scientific non-programmable calculator that's capable of scientific notation. Then we have a bunch of learning objectives and course objectives. Okay, fully online class presented on Canvas. Again, asynchronous. So all the lectures are done. Every single one of your lectures is already recorded and there for you on Canvas. Okay, so there was a separate module for every single chapter. Within the module, you will find all of the lectures broken down by section from the textbook. So everything's very organized. Within that, each section usually has mini lectures. I know that it's really hard to sit and stare at something for an hour and a half at a time, especially if you have not the greatest internet connection or you're watching it on your phone. So I broke the lectures down into small little chunks so that are all topically based. And I'll show you how that looks in a few minutes here. Again, you must keep up with the lectures. You cannot leave this course until Sundays. Okay, you cannot leave this course until Sundays. All right, and then you'll be completing homework, quizzes, exams, and discussions. So we're using OWL for homework. At the end of this page, I'll show you the registration document for OWL. We'll have discussions. So again, usually it's respond to the prompt by Friday, then interact with your classmates by Sunday, but there's going to be a couple of them that are going to have a little bit different due dates because I want you to work through the problem session before you actually take the exam. Okay, so I'm giving you discussion board credit for studying for your exams. Okay, and then we have quizzes. Okay, so there's a quiz at the end of every chapter. Usually there's a 25 or 30-minute time limit. Most of the time, the quizzes are just contained within the quiz. There's a couple of quizzes where there might be 1 or 2 questions that ask you to upload an image of some written work so that I can check to see that you're understanding the process of how to do these problems. And so those quizzes are usually the ones that are 30 minutes instead of 25 minutes to give you an extra couple minutes to take a picture of what you're working on, email it to yourself, and then upload it to the exam. For the most part, you should not ever click off the exam, all right, or the quiz. Everything should be contained to that one window. The quizzes and the exams, the questions display one at a time, and then they lock when you're done answering them. All right, you can't go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth between them because we are online. I do permit you to use your own handwritten notes. So can't use the internet, can't use other students, you can't use Chegg or Course Hero or Quizlet or any of those other websites to do your work. Can't use a tutor. Everything has to be 100% from your own brain and your own work there, but I do let you look at your notes while you're doing it. Okay. Quizzes will be due at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday nights, and they do lock a few minutes later at 12:05 a.m. All right, so the quizzes do lock right after their due date time. Exams, they will lock as well. So they'll be due at an 11:59 p.m. time, and then they will lock a couple minutes after that as well. Okay, exams, I give you a 2-hour window to complete the exam, and typically exams are open for 48 hours. So you'll have a choice of a couple of different days in which to sit down and take your exam. Once you start the exam, you cannot exit it and come back to it later. So you must have a solid 2-hour block of time in order to do your exams. And again, everything has to be your own work, but I do let you use your notes. Okay. Now, late work, okay? In the OWL system, there is a late work penalty already set. If you do the homework late, it's a 20% penalty. The quizzes and the exams, no late work. All right, this class moves very, very fast, and I need to be able to provide feedback to students, which means that students need to be able to see not only what you have done incorrectly, but what the correct answers are. And if a bunch of students are constantly taking the tests and the quizzes late, I cannot release the answers. And if I'm waiting to release the answers, especially on quizzes that students want to check, did I do the quiz correctly before I take the exam? Or if I did something wrong, what was the correct answer? Then we're just going to get into too much of a bottleneck. So you have to be keeping up with your quizzes and your exams. Okay. So I do know that sometimes things can still be disrupted because of COVID. I think they say we're going through another surge. And so I'm not unsympathetic to legitimate extenuating circumstances. All right. Legitimate and extenuating circumstances. I can't help you though if you don't communicate with me. So you can't just disappear and then come back 3 days later and go, oh, I missed 3 quizzes and an exam. You have to be in communication with me. Okay. So an example, 1 week during this whole COVID mess, I had no childcare. My daughter's daycare was closed, and my alternate childcare of my parents couldn't help out because my dad had to have emergency surgery. So my daughter was home all week. I still got work done, but I was a little bit slower to respond to emails or get back to students or get work graded that week because I had my toddler home 24/7 with no backup because my husband was also working. And he was out of the house most of the days. So that's a legitimate extenuating circumstance. I forgot to do the test, not a legitimate circumstance. I waited until Sunday afternoon to do all of my work, and suddenly I couldn't get it done. That's also not a legitimate extenuating circumstance because you cannot wait until Sunday. If you email me and say, I waited until Sunday and I didn't get everything done, can I have an extension? I'm not going to give you an extension because you waited. All right. So if something, legitimate does happen, and life does happen, you need to communicate with me. Okay. All right. Time commitment. This class takes time. This is not a class that you can do in a couple of hours on Sunday. You absolutely must be watching those lectures. Again, we're asynchronous online. This is in lieu of sitting in class. So all those hours you would normally be sitting in class each week taking notes, you need to be watching the lecture videos. That is your class time. After the lecture videos are over is your, personal study time where you need to be doing the homework, the quizzes, the tests, those sorts of things. Okay. You absolutely must be studying. A college is not, it's not high school. All right. This isn't where we meet every single day with little tiny bits and you do 90% of your work in class. Okay. College requires that you are self-motivated. You know, the lecture is there to facilitate your learning, to, you know, introduce you to topics and to give you some explanations and some example problems. But once lecture is over, that's where the real work begins. That's where you need to be reading the textbook, forming study groups, doing those homework problems, coming to me if you need help. All right. College requires a very, very large time commitment. Okay. Again, we are taking a normal 16-week course and all we're doing is swooshing it into 8 weeks. We are not removing anything. So it does look like a lot of work because it is, because we are doing so much in a short amount of time. Okay, regular attendance is required. Well, you're not showing up to class. So what does that look like in an online class? Regular participation, viewing lecture videos, doing homework, doing discussions, doing quizzes, doing exams. Okay. Here's our grading scale and the weighting that I give to each category. Okay. Don't cheat. All right. If I catch cheating, you'll receive a 0 and a referral over to academic affairs, which is never fun. All right. Do not cheat. Do not post stuff on Chegg. I do check Chegg, so I do see when my stuff is posted, and that's not pleasant when you're caught using Chegg. Do not do it. All right. Okay, you need to learn this material. If you don't know this material, you will not be successful in Chem 200. I have taught both the preparatory courses and the general chemistry sequence at City College and at Grossmont College for many, 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 many years now. And students that do not do well in the preparatory course never succeed in general chemistry, because general chemistry, we take everything you're doing here and we bring it up a notch. Okay, you are expected to remember and retain what we do in this course in order to build upon that and to keep going in the next course. So if you cheat, all you're doing is screwing yourself over for the next class. Okay, maybe you get through this class, but you will not get through the next class, especially if it is in person on campus and you are away from technology when you are taking all of your exams. So don't do it. All right, just don't do it. All right. If you have accessibility issues and you have letters from the Disability Support Services, get that to me immediately so we can work with that. Emails. All right. I am not at my computer 24/7. So if you email me at 10 o'clock at night, I am not going to respond at 10 o'clock at night. All right. If you email me late on Saturday, don't expect a response late on Saturday because that is the weekend. So if you send an email on a regular school day, I should respond within 24 hours. If you email me late on Friday or over the weekend, you should expect a response sometime on Monday. The only exception to this being Monday, July 4th is a holiday, so it is not a regular school day. So that weekend, you shouldn't expect a response until Tuesday. All right. Okay. And then student code of conduct, adhere by it. If you don't know what it is, there's a link for it. All right. So that's our syllabus. Down here is our schedule. So you can see, again, it's very, very, very squished. Lots of stuff each week, 2 to 3 chapters, tests, quizzes, etc. We move fast. Don't get behind. And then here is the OWL document explaining how you register within the OWL system. If your book came bundled with OWL, you should have a code. You can buy directly online. And then there is a free trial period. So if you can't buy it today, you can enroll in the free trial and you can get through the first few days of the course before OWL will ask you to pay. Okay. All right, now underneath here is a course summary. So you can see the course stream with due dates. A couple of things I haven't put in there. I I haven't turned on exams 2, 3, 4, or the final exam yet. So those due dates you won't see here. And then there's 3 chapters, the last 3 chapters, 15, 16, and 17, that there was something going wrong with Canvas when I was editing those quizzes. So they're removed out right now, and I'm going to fix those this week. So even though they're not due till toward the end of our 8 weeks together, they will show up in a couple of days when I can figure out what was going wrong with Canvas for those last couple. And then homework doesn't have a due date in Canvas because all the homework due dates are in the OWL system. And so once the homework is concluded, then I go into the OWL system, I look at your score, and I port your score over manually from the OWL system. So a few days before the end of the class, I'll start porting scores over so you can see what the homework is doing to your grade. And if you need to, you know, ooh, I haven't been doing the homework and now that's going to take my grade, better go back in and do it. Because I have had situations where students did really well on the exams. Maybe they took the class once before, and then they don't do any of the homework, and the homework is worth 10% of your grade. So as soon as I put those homework scores in, it drops your grade by an entire letter grade. So don't spaz on the homework. Make sure you are doing the OWL homework. Okay, because chemistry, you have to work problems, right? There are very, very, very few students that can get through a chemistry course without working problems. You have to work problems. Otherwise, you just won't learn the material. Okay. All right, now the most important page after the syllabus is modules. Okay, so syllabus is here. I repeated it there for you. And then there is a syllabus quiz because I want to make sure that you are familiar with the syllabus and you're familiar with the course policies and procedures. Okay, you don't have to memorize the syllabus. I do allow you to use the syllabus document while you are taking the syllabus quiz. So everybody should get a perfect score on the syllabus quiz. Okay, and the syllabus quiz is due in 2 days. Okay, make sure you do the syllabus quiz. So our exams module, you can see exam 1 is turned on. You can't see it yet because I haven't opened up access to it because we haven't gotten to it yet, but the due date is in there. I have the first 3 discussions ready for you to take a look at. All right, and then chapter 1 is just an intro chapter. So it's a short lecture. So there's just one little piece to it. At the beginning of each chapter, you'll find the PowerPoint slides that I use. So you can download those if you want to follow along with those. And then I go into the lecture. So let's go to chapter 3. All right, so if we look at the chapter 3 module, you know, here's all the PowerPoint slides. So you can see I broke it down by section. Okay, and then the next piece tells you a little bit about, you know, what the theme of the chapter is. And then we go into the actual lectures. And so you can see for chapter 3, I have 3.2, I have 2 lectures for that first section. Okay, and 3.3, I have a couple little lectures. 3.4, there's just one little lecture. 3.5, 3.6 has 3 little lectures. All right, so you can see that I broke everything down into small little manageable chunks in order for you to be able to view the lectures. Now I do have things locked such that you have to complete the previous chapter before the next chapter will show up for you. This is to make sure that you are keeping up with everything in a timely manner. I don't want you to watch a whole bunch of lectures and then try to go back and take the quizzes. You should be taking the quiz when you complete each chapter because the quiz helps keep you on track. Did you retain that chapter? Did you understand that chapter? What I highly recommend doing is watching the lecture videos, then going over to OWL, doing the mastery homework, and then coming back and taking the quiz, and then moving on to the next chapter. Okay. So that is pretty much how our course is laid out. I know I'm going to repeat myself again, but I cannot stress this enough. This class moves fast. We are doing a full 16-week semester in 8 weeks. So there's a lot to do every single week. You have to be keeping up with everything. Otherwise, you are just not going to get through this class. The other piece too to keeping up is that if you are concurrently enrolled in the lab, if you're not retaking just the lecture, but if you're taking the whole 152 sequence right now for the first time this summer and you're enrolled in lab, if you're not keeping up with lecture, you will be lost in lab. Lab takes stuff that we are doing in lecture and gives you hands-on practice with it. And so if you are 3 chapters behind in lecture, you're going to get to lab and you're going to go, huh? And you won't understand the experiment. You won't understand the calculations. You won't understand the analysis. So you do need to be keeping up with lecture in order to also be successful in lab. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an introduction and an overview to our course. So we are in week 1 right now. So our week 1 tasks, when you look at the schedule document, are to do the intro and syllabus, to do chapter 1, do chapter 3. Then you have a syllabus quiz, the chapter 1 quiz, and the chapter 3 quiz. I do have everything with the exception of those last couple chapter quizzes. All the chapter modules are turned on, all the quizzes are turned on. So you can, if you want, work ahead. That's okay. Like if you know you have a busier week, 1 week, and you have more time a previous week, if you want to get a chapter ahead, that's perfectly fine. The only thing that you can't get ahead on are the exams, because I only have the exams open for 48-hour windows. Okay, but other stuff, you can start getting ahead. If you get through chapter 1 and chapter 3 and you want to go ahead and get started on chapter 2, even though that's scheduled for next week, that's fine. Okay, just because something has a specific due date doesn't mean that you can't work ahead on it. Okay, due date doesn't mean start by date. Due date means it must be completed by that date. All right. So hopefully we'll have a successful 8 weeks together. I hope everybody that is enrolled in this class right now and watching this video today ends our 8 weeks together having successfully passed the class. That would be excellent. That would be a fantastic end of the summer if everybody passes the class. So good luck. Start watching your videos. Email me if you have questions. Again, I'm going to put my correct City College email in the announcement, because I've learned my lesson. Never work on syllabi for both campuses at the same time. I usually teach on both campuses, and I've never concurrently worked on 2 syllabi from 2 different campuses at the same time. So I have learned not to do that. So I'll give you my correct email for City College in the announcement that I post this video with. So good luck, start delving into it, and I hope you enjoy our beginning steps into chemistry together.